What's up, everyone? Today we're diving into what plyometrics are and how we can understand some basic progressions. So first and foremost, what is a plyometric? A plyometric, despite popular belief, is not just for the lower body, it's for the upper body. It's a general term used to describe a certain kind of muscle tendon unit interaction. So the key aspects of a plyometric is, first, there's some sort of a rapid stretching. So typically our foot hitting the ground, maybe you're throwing a baseball and your pec and lat get stretched. There's a rapid stretching which involves the storage of elastic energy, which occurs during the amortization phase. Also, the ground contact time, which we often associate with that. But it's the transition phase, the amortization phase, in which energy is stored. I keep throwing a baseball for some example, but also as the ground contact time. And then there's the propulsion phase, which is where the concentric propulsive action takes place. So again, three kind of phases: the stretch, the amortization, and then the propulsion phase. So that's the basic what is a plyometric. It's not just for lower body, for upper body too, but we're going to be demonstrating lower body because it's probably the easiest to understand. Now, Yuri Verkhoshansky, the inventor of the depth jumps, which are different than plyometrics, but something that fits in the picture, talked about the idea of plyometric progression in terms of extensive to intensive. So being able to first do and then express is the way I like to think about it. So you don't want to do the most intense things first. You want to just get good at doing whatever the basic submaximal version is, and then you progress to the more intense version. So let's show you and talk about some examples that we can do for really basic extensive plyometrics and how they progress into more intense. So again, we're doing this for the not upper body, the lower body. So anytime you're a plyometric, especially while we're talking about ground contacts, it involves our ankle hitting the ground, or foot I should say, not ankle, but your ankle complex being the initiator of the contact, and then involving the rest of the upper body. So a very, very low level and extensive plyometric is something as easy as hopping and skipping, right? This is considered something very low level. It's quick, rapid, a stretch is occurring upon ground contact time. It has the amortization phase, and there's something very low level. Now, this extensive to intensive is very much dependent on your background. So what's intense for someone who's never done something is obviously very different as what's intense to a high level, say, professional athlete. So when we think about intensive and extensive, think about it as in relative terms. So an example would be if I'm working with a higher level athlete, they might do something like a pogo hop, which is a bilateral hop, trying to get off the ground, but not jumping as high as I possibly can. And this is done for more number of repetitions. So an extensive is typically categorized by, well, I want to be able to do this multiple times, so more contacts, more stretching, building the tissue capacity to handle it. And then intensive becomes large amounts of force expressed rapidly. Now, I'm not going to dive into the force time characteristics that are often used to actually quantify how difficult a plyometric is, but what you should think about is how big is the stretch? So how far am I falling from? How high am I jumping after? And how short is the amortization phase? If I have a big stretch falling from a tall height like a depth jump, or I have a quick amortization phase like a short ground contact time, and I'm trying to jump as high as I can, well, that's the highest level of plyometric action you could possibly get. So if I then change some of those other categories so I don't jump from as high, and I do a small depth jump or drop jump where I'm stepping off of a pretend there's a small box right here, stepping off, I'm hitting the ground and jumping back up. Well, that's much, much less intense than if I have a big box. Or I can look at it in terms of how high I'm actually trying to jump. So if I'm doing pogo hops and I'm jumping as high as I can every time and trying to be quick and rapid off the ground, that is considered really intense. So if instead I were to do that same movement but just not jump as high, still be quick, and now the stretch is less, because if I jump really high I gotta come back down from a high height. The stretch is less, but also the concentric intent is less, but the amortization phase, that ground contact time, remains relatively stable. So when we think about introductory plyometrics, think about it, am I on 2 feet or 1 foot? 1 foot obviously is going to be more demanding because it's, well, more body weight on 1 foot than 2 feet. Am I falling from a tall height? Is it a quick stretch? Is it a big stretch? Is it a big concentric effort going up? An extensive version is something you can do a lot of that's not going to cause a bunch of wear and tear, and something that you do to help develop the tissues to get to the more intensive. Remember, intensive and extensive are relative to the person's ability. An elite level athlete who's done these before might have a different looking extensive plyometric routine than someone who's just beginning. So whenever you watch a video on plyometrics or routines that you could possibly utilize, make sure you understand you're taking it into context as to what level that athlete is. So I appreciate you guys listening. If you enjoyed, let me know. Comment and like, share, subscribe, whatever you gotta do. If you guys have questions about this specific topic, I'm happy to make a follow-up video. And again, as always, thank you for listening.